Okay, in this video we're going to start to look at how industry assistance worked in the past and how it's shifted over the last 30 to 40 years. So the focus on industry policy has shifted dramatically, so in terms of what businesses are receiving assistance. So in the past, the government would select particular industries who would receive special assistance through things like subsidies, quotas and tariffs. And the idea of this assistance was to promote increased employment in areas where we potentially didn't have comparative advantage, or in areas that we were struggling to compete with overseas countries. So the view that by providing this assistance, it can help keep jobs in Australia, and it will help to boost employment and the overall level of output in the economy. So subsidies and tariffs were really large, particularly in the textiles, clothing and footwear industries, and the motor vehicle industry, and it was all about protection. These were the protectionist subsidies. So they were trying to protect us against foreign competition, they were trying to increase the relative price of foreign substitutes, and make Australians buy Australian goods and services. And there was a lot of lobbying, a lot of pressure from a range of different groups, so a lot of lobby groups that would fight for higher tariffs in like textiles and motor vehicle industries so that they can continue to remain competitive, and therefore the assistance that the government provided continued to grow. Since the 1970s, however, there's been a dramatic shift in terms of industry policy. So selective industry assistance, purely to make them competitive, was declined because the idea is that that ended up having costs for the economy. So industries were becoming reliant on government support, and the protection from the competition was leading to inefficiencies. They were failing to restructure their industries, and that was leading to them becoming less internationally competitive. So the idea is that they had these big tariffs or subsidies protecting them from foreign competition. That provided a lack of incentive to become more productive, to innovate, to invest in new research, and therefore it imposed a cost on the rest of the economy because we were faced with higher prices because of a lack of productivity, and we didn't get access to, particularly because of tariffs, cheaper foreign products. So the government decided, no, we're going to remove forms of assistance that we consider anti-competitive because we think it would be better for the economy as a whole. So we started moving away from policies that would only expand our productive capacity in the short term, e.g. subsidies, but would hurt technical and dynamic efficiency in the long term. So technical efficiency is hurt because firms don't have the incentive to be productive, and dynamic efficiency is hurt because we're not as responsive to changes in the environment because we're being protected. So we started to shift into policies that will actually boost the nation's supply potential and contribute to our long-term productive capacity. So in the next video, we'll talk about some things that like grants for research and development and subsidies, particularly in areas of market failure, as opposed to just providing assistance for businesses. So as you can see, the budgetary spending on subsidies has gone down, particularly because of the lack of funding for these areas in terms of protectionist policies. Current industry policy today, industry policy has now moved away from direct industry assistance, so helping businesses in terms of protection, and now involves support to industries where they see a long-term benefit for the economy. Only if they think it's going to have a long-term benefit, as opposed to just protecting them in the short term, will they implement these policies. Assistance is provided to achieve economic, social and environmental objectives. So we looked at the direct action policy, that's one example, and that includes research and development, policies to reduce market failure and subsidies to promote positive externalities. The Australian government provided industry assistance of $15.6 billion in 2014. Tariff assistance is falling considerably, and they've reduced industry support, removing grants for car manufacturers and some other uncompetitive industries. The most common time when industry support is given today is to prevent market failures from occurring. That prevents valuable investment from occurring. So when, for example, there's a lack of resources devoted towards research and development, the government would see this as suboptimal, and therefore they would give subsidies in these areas. We'll talk about some examples of industry assistance today in the next video.